What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'm going to be talking about going to my first ever NASCAR Cup Series race and also going to the Truck Series race as well, and kind of explaining the experience of what happened at the race, not just from the racing itself, but talk about everything around the event. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Before I start, though, I want to talk about Friday. Friday, I did not go to any of the events. I'll tell you truthfully, the reason we did not go, there was a serious situation happened in my personal life. We did not go to any of the events on Friday. So we stayed at home for the practice and qualifying sessions for trucks and Cup. They had that Richard Petty going on and driving around the track. Didn't go to any of those events, unfortunately. So we basically stayed home on Friday. Now, jumping into Saturday. Saturday and Sunday, we went to both of those days. And Saturday, we were there basically. We got there really, really early because one of the things that they were talking about throughout the week was traffic was going to be a concern, not only on Saturday, but Sunday as well. Luckily for me and my dad, we went with a buddy of mine out to his first ever NASCAR race as well, because this is not the first NASCAR race I went to, by the way. This is the first Truck Series race I went to, because I've been to two NASCAR Xfinity Series races. I went to the Gateway race in July, the one where Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski got into it, and then in 2010, where Brad Keselowski ended up winning. Carl Edwards won the summer one, and Brad Keselowski won what we thought was going to be the last time. We left really, really early. We actually left around like 6 in the morning, a little bit after 6 o'clock to get to the racetrack, and we got the track very, very early. It was very, very, not really packed when we got there, but again, not many people had arrived at the time. And again, when you get to early track really, really early, of course, you're not going to be seeing a ton of people in the beginning. But as time went on and progressed, and this is always for other NASCAR Cup Series races, the crowd started filing in. A lot of you are going to be asking is what there's there to do in the midway. Well, there was quite a bit of stuff to do in the midway. They had a Bubba Wallace McDonald's car. They had a giant shopping cart basically over there, which I thought was really, really, really cool. And they also had like a lot of other things. They had Kevin Harvick's Busch beer car, I think, out on Saturday as well. And they had a lot of other cool things as well. There wasn't as much to do on Saturday as there was to do on Sunday, but they started really filing in, and a lot of people started coming in as well. And one thing I can tell you from being at the racetrack, there was so much energy, and the crowd was incredible on both days. But the energy at the track on Saturday, even for a race, for qualifying. Let's talk about qualifying crowd. That is one of the largest qualifying crowds to watch Cup qualifying. You don't usually see a crowd as massive as it was on Saturday. So to see that big of a crowd on Saturday was absolutely phenomenal. I can't tell exactly how many were there for qualifying. I would not be entirely shocked if there were 20, 25,000 people there for qualifying. I could be wrong on that, but there was a lot of people there for qualifying. And when Chase Briscoe won the pole for this race, a lot of people were cheering. I was cheering too when he won the polls. That was absolutely incredible to watch, seeing Chase Briscoe, who's from Mitchell, Indiana, which isn't terribly too far away from the racetrack a little bit. I mean, it's to stay over basically. There were a lot of people really, really excited. And Chase Briscoe was talking about in his post after qualifying, he's like, can't believe this crowd is as massive it is. I can't believe so many people were out here for qualifying. And I know a lot of drivers were definitely through the week were really concerned about the shifting and stuff. So let's go ahead and transition over to the prices a little bit, because I want to talk about the concession stands and the prices. I will say one thing about the prices of the concession stands. Prices are probably, I'm not sure how prices are at other racetracks. I haven't been to any other racetracks really ever, really outside of NASCAR racetracks except I-55. But water was $5 for a bottle of water pretty much. Alcohol was $8 or $9. I know daiquiris were like $8 or $9. I think whiskey or whatever was like you say $8 or $9. Beers like $8 or $9, which isn't horrendous. Burgers and food were like $8 or $9 as well. There wasn't absolutely really the most expensive how much food really was at the racetrack and at the facility as well. So prices were definitely reasonable. Now, the lines were one thing I definitely do want to talk about, were the lines at the concession stands. Now, I don't know how concession stands generally are at other racetracks as well, but I know last year in National, people were talking about how long the concession lines were. Now, don't get me wrong, when you went into the racetrack before the race even began, it was really much easier to get food. They had troubles getting the card systems and a lot of stuff opened up. They had to basically had a hard time getting the car stands opened up, so we had to pay a lot of cash and stuff for the events. They also had a lot of free things you could win, a lot of things you could spend and win and stuff. We got some bags and stuff from the racetrack as well, which I thought was really, really good. Now let's talk about the racing itself for the Truck Series race. First of all, I thought the truck race is actually pretty decent. The beginning of the race itself wasn't the greatest, to be perfectly honest with you. Really, first stage was kind of boring. The only thing that really happened in stage one was Corey Heim getting passed by Chandler Smith, and Chandler Smith won stage one. Stage two was absolutely a crazy stage number two. You had a bunch of wrecks. You had John Nemechek basically spinning out on turn number four. You had a bunch of guys basically overdriving the corner. Grant Enfinger basically, basically losing it in the corner, getting into Chandler Smith. And a lot of drivers basically up front in the beginning. A lot of the guys, in fact, who were in stage one were really up there in the front. They completely fell back. And we saw, I think, like 10 or 11 cautions in the Camping World Truck Series race. It looked like it was going to be Derek Kraus or Christian Eckes that actually was going to win the race. Derek Kraus had the lead, and then Christian Eckes caught up to him. But eventually, the caution came out, I think, 3 or 4 laps ago. I think it was for a car that spun out. I'm not entirely sure who it was, but I think a car or truck spun out. And it came down to late race restart, where Corey Heim got an amazing restart at the choose roll and got a great restart and held off a hard-charging Chandler Smith to go to victory. Unfortunately, there was a very scary incident on the last lap of the race, which you probably saw in the news video yesterday. Basically, Carson Hocevar got wrecked really, really hard, basically on the last lap of the race. I don't know exactly who got turned. You probably would have to basically tell me in the comments who it was who basically turned him, but he got turned by somebody and got literally hit in the door by, I believe it was Tyler Hill, and Carson Hocevar currently at the moment. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly when he'll be racing the rest of the year. We're not entirely sure. We're waiting for that to get back. But Carson seems like he wants to get back at the racetrack, and he's unclear currently at the moment what he's going to do. One thing I will say is the AMR safety team, they got to do a much better job when it comes to getting things done. They've been doing this for long enough. They should absolutely know better to exactly what we're doing. So after the race is over, we waited a little bit. We waited about 20, 30 minutes for traffic to kind of clear out a little bit, but it wasn't really terrible to get out of the facility. There's a little bit once you left the track, but traffic on Saturday was not absolutely horrendous. Now let's transition over to Sunday. Now, Sunday, of course, was absolutely the big day. And just like Saturday, we left very, very early. In fact, I think we left a little bit earlier on Sunday than we did on Saturday, which is really, really shocking because they actually were a lot more concerned about the traffic on Sunday than they were on Saturday. But we got there extremely early. Now, we did not have to leave really, really early to get to the racetrack, but we decided to be very, very safe and play it safe and get to the racetrack really, really early. And there were already more people at the track when we got there yesterday morning than basically were there. We brought my brother out to the racetrack, of course, for his first Cup race and also my first Cup race as well, since I've never been to a NASCAR Cup Series race, which I've always talked about a lot. But this, of course, was my first ever NASCAR Cup Series race. Crowd was very, very slow from the beginning. There wasn't a major crowd at the beginning, but as time progressed, their crowd got massive. And there was a lot more things to do, a lot more free things you could win, a lot of spin to win. There was a lot of activation. There was a little RC course that they basically had on Saturday that you can do on Sunday. They had a lot of cool things at the racetrack as well, a lot of free things you could absolutely win. We got some sunglasses in our pockets as well, and in our bags as well. And it just overall, going through the midway, there was a lot to do. And the merch haulers as well is another thing I want to talk about. The merch haulers were near the back. I think near turn number 3, if I'm not mistaken, is where they had them near the front stretch of turn number 2, turn 4, kind of near turn number 1. That's where they had the merchandise haulers. They, of course, had all the merch haulers. I didn't get any video of that, unfortunately. But merch haulers were also there as well, which I think is really cool. They kind of had them all together. Kyle Busch and Chase, I believe, are the only 2 drivers had their own merchandise haulers, and everyone else is kind of in their own distinctive ones. Hendrick had their own merch hauler. Then he had the rest of the Chevy guys. Then he had all the Ford guys together, and then kind of the back market Fords as well were together as well. Going back to the prices as well, prices on Sunday were pretty much the same as Saturday, but there was a little more stuff out there, a lot more booths were open up and stuff and things to do. They had a really cool midway thing that Kenny Wallace did with John Roberts, which I was there for that. They had Rusty Wallace come on stage, Kevin Harvick come on stage. They had the hospitality guy from St. Louis on stage. Mike Wallace was on stage. They had a lot of really, really cool people that were on stage as well, and a lot of people were there for that, which I found really, really awesome. I was actually checking that out, and I thought it was really, really cool, and it got the crowd really, really pumped up and really, really excited, which is a major key thing for the St. Louis area, and the crowd was just super pumped up. Now, transitioning away from that, I do want to talk about the traffic. We got there early, so we didn't experience traffic, but what I could definitely tell was that people were talking about this as well. Traffic definitely was a massive, massive concern, which is why they were putting out PSAs all week long to get to the track really, really early. And I know a lot of people that got to the racetrack early, a lot of people that did not get to the racetrack really, really early. And that definitely, again, was a big concern. It definitely got sped up as time went on. We were actually up in the stands near when the race almost started and basically got up to the stands. And we can see the traffic, but it's definitely starting to move a lot quicker and people were moving in much, much faster. Right after that, we waited a little, had some food and stuff with reasonable prices and stuff. And then I went to the tweet up that Bob Pockers and Jeff do every week. I met a couple really cool YouTubers, Danny B and Jarrett Lundberg, as the Iceberg. Met also a couple other really cool people in media banners like Caleb Vessel and Brent Winningham, are kind of, I think, from the St. Louis area. I met those guys. They were really, really cool, and I talked to them for a little bit. It was really, really awesome to meet those individuals. Took a picture of Mr. Bob Pockers, which I found really, really awesome to do. And Chris Rice also showed up, and Chris Rice legitimately said that if AJ finishes in the top 20 in this race, he'd be really, really happy. Well, AJ finished in the top 10, so you really exceeded your expectations considering they had that crazy race at Portland that nobody knew. And we also kind of talk about what kind of racing we were expecting as well, which is one thing I was kind of focusing on, was how the racing was going to be, because a lot of people thought the race wasn't going to be absolutely fantastic, and a lot of people didn't think was going to be really, really good, which I think we were all pleasantly surprised once we got into the racing. Right after tweet up, I talked to guys for a little bit that were up there, a couple people that are fans of the channel as well who watch it and stuff, and then eventually I headed back and basically headed back over to back to see my family. And then we basically went up to our seats for a little bit. As you probably can tell, I'm really, really sunburnt right now, and it was a lot of sunburns. A crowd wasn't too big when we got in there, but it really started filling up. It was very difficult to get through navigation and stuff. It was very, very difficult to it was very, very difficult to get through everything. And basically, we went up to our seats and chill, which we're basically near the top or the grandstand, so we pretty much could see everything. We're actually near the front stretch for both days, so we basically had the same seats, and we sat in really good positions. We very much could see everything along the racetrack. Now, I did not get a scanner for the race to hear what's going on the radio and stuff. I probably should have gotten one. I don't know how much exactly that works. They had scanners that you basically could rent, but I definitely wanted to try to either buy a scanner or get a scanner rental for that, and we went up to our seats. We stayed there for a little bit. They had the Clydesdales that are from St. Louis. They basically were walking around and stuff. They basically came through. That was cool. They basically sworn a bunch of people that are going into Air Force and the Space Force. And then the driver intros basically came through and basically happened. The driver intros are very, very interesting. You got some interesting responses. Some drivers had really popular responses. Parker Kirkman was a big shock to me. Heard quite a bit of cheer near the front stretch. Also, a driver that got a lot of boos, surprisingly, was Bubba Wallace, which, again, it's Bubba Wallace. What do you expect? Bubba Wallace, for whatever reason, somehow always gets a lot of boos, which I don't think he really deserves as many boos. I cheered for Bubba when he came through, but I definitely heard a lot of boos. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Joe Logano, I think, had more boos than anybody else in the race, which, again, I think they are clearly the three most unpopular drivers in NASCAR. I might have booed Logano. I don't remember exactly, but my brother flipped him off multiple times at the racetrack as well, which I thought was really, really funny. Once the intros got through, which again, I think I will say is the audio issues. I don't know if the frequencies were having issues with connecting, but the audio and the frequencies were having a big, big issue connecting at the facility as well. Once all the intros happened, though, I can tell you guys this, the crowd and the energy at this race was just insane and just phenomenal. The seats were filled up. People were coming in. They're filling up quickly, and people were sitting down. And even in turn one, which they usually don't have a lot of people there, that area was pretty much sold out. Nearly 80,000 people were at the track, and the energy was just so phenomenal being there. They had the national anthem and all the command and stuff. The command could have been a little bit better, in my opinion, but it wasn't absolutely horrendous. It could have been better, but was not absolutely the worst command I have heard in my entire life. I've definitely heard worse commands in my life, for sure. So jumping now into the race itself at the stands from the Cup Series race. I will say this. There was definitely a lot of action that happened. You had Chase Briscoe had a flat tire early. He actually looked like he had one of the fastest cars in this race. Actually, I think Ryan Blaney had one of the better cars for sure in the race. He had a flat tire. Chase Briscoe did, and lost lead, and Austin won Stage 1. Stage 2 is where all the chaos pretty much happened. You had Ross Chastain had pretty much gotten everybody in this race. He got into it with Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, and they tag teamed against him. Ryan Blaney had a flat tire. Tyler Reddick had a flat tire. Bubba Wallace got punted by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the race. There was a lot of chaos and stuff that happened, and a lot of strategy as well. I do believe in this race as well. Zane Smith, of course, was substituting for Chris Buescher for certain reasons I'm not going to mention here. But basically, you had a lot of other things that were going on as well. You had BJ McLeod getting pissed off on the radio. I know that for a fact. The race would come down to a very late stages of the race where basically it came down to Kyle Busch versus Joey Logano. Kyle Busch actually was holding on to the lead against Joey Logano, but Kevin Harvick had a very horrendous and a very nasty accident where we find out later that the brake rotors basically failed on Kevin Harvick's car, and he hit the outside wall really, really hard, bringing out the final caution. Kyle Busch actually got the lead early on the restart, held off Logano for a second, but Logano made a very, very good move and basically got around Kyle Busch and picked up another inaugural victory, which, like Chase Elliott, is becoming the inaugural guy who wins races. Now, one thing I did not mention is before the green flag even dropped, they had this like very, really cool pyrotechnics in the background, which I think they had this in Texas as well. They had massive pyrotechnics, and Charlotte as well had massive pyrotechnics where basically like explosions were happening and stuff. And they also had a demonstration as well before the green flag drop of like a bunch of Blue Angels, I think, coming across, which I found really, really cool and stuff. They have bombers, which are very, very loud to hear. And like people have been saying as well, when it comes to the loudest of the next-gen cars and the trucks as well, very, very loud. Very difficult to hear and very, very loud as well. It was very loud to definitely hear for sure at the racetrack. So my thoughts on the race itself, I thought it was a good race, not great. It was very difficult to pass from even being there, but it was definitely a good race for sure. And a lot of action that kept you in. Like I said, Joey Logano won, picking up his 29th career NASCAR Cup Series victory. So overall, what are my thoughts on the weekend experience? Absolutely, fantastically amazing. The track experience was great. There's things that they definitely will probably improve on and things they can improve on, but the track experience was amazing for me. 10 out of 10. Probably the best weekend I've had all year. Probably the best days I've had this year so far, considering everything that's happened in my personal life. This definitely has been one of the best days weekends I've had in my life. And I had a very enjoyable time and had a blast as well. And I wasn't the only person that was there that I know personally. I know a lot of people that I used to go to school with and stuff that were at the racetrack as well, which is absolutely great. So it definitely was a really cool and amazing experience, and I definitely absolutely enjoyed being there this weekend. And we're going to be back. I've got Gateway coming back next year, which is amazing. And I'm definitely going to try to make it out to Gateway next year. And maybe I'll have some media credentials. And maybe I'll work in the media center by that point and go to the infield. And I'm definitely going to try and make it into the infield zone next year and just check the infield out for a little bit and then go to my seats. So it definitely was an incredible and enjoyable experience, and I loved being at Worldwide Technology Race this weekend. I definitely cannot wait to be back there next year because we're going to be back there in 2023, which they absolutely deserve. St. Louis came out very, very well. Really, really strong. 80,000 people there. Amazing crowd. Every driver was talking about the facility, how many people came out to enjoy it, and I think the drivers put on the best show that they can. Thank you, Ross Chastain, because he made this a really, really good show. So anyway, that is going to be for me talking about my first NASCAR Cup Series race experience. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notification on to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on pages on list schedule below with that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts, and did you go to Gateway this weekend, and did you enjoy the experience? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow, we're going to have a NASCAR news video discussing all the news and rumors in the industry. And then on Thursday of this week will be race picks for the race at Sonoma before we go on the 1-week break. And I've got some cool products going to be coming out next week as well. A couple of products that I'm already getting ready to announce here that I'll more than likely announce late at the end of this week. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. And I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.